This will be video number 6 in my course outcome series. This is on the subject of managing business applications from a managerial perspective. This is what I do day to day, basically, right now. There's a very large part of our monthly process, the entire month-end process that I'm in charge of. And I was brought on back in August 2020 to do this job. And the month-end process was sort of somewhat relayed to me from the prior person that was doing it, who unfortunately he was a little burnt out, and he just had to leave shortly after he passed it to me. So I did not get a lot of exposure to it with him. I got maybe 1 or 2 run-throughs with it, but it's arguably probably the most complicated process in the entire company. And I was faced with a bit of a challenge in that I didn't have a lot of information or process documentation that was up to date or really could get me through running all these things. So I really had to kind of really dig in deep and come up with a system that was going to get us through, because this is the big one. This is the month-end process, and this brings all of the e-business applications together. It brings finance, brings land, brings engineering, everything coming together. And so I had to really kind of buckle down and learn how it all came together. So my first strategy was to come up with sort of a flow chart. And this is sort of what I came up with. Using what I did know about the existing systems and where they all needed to go, I kind of made sort of a rough kind of outline here and determined that we had sort of a system here with all the finance data conversion to the data mart. We had sort of a loop here where Value Navigator data, which is land and engineering planning, long-range planning information, comes from. When we also had a Host Analytics, sort of an external site that does a lot of our creates a lot of reports for data analytics, as well as it also put in some sort of ad hoc information related to royalty data. So what I did was I kind of came up with this whole sort of diagram of how all the systems kind of flow together, some of the name of the workflows that do those jobs, where the hosting occurs, and ultimately it goes into the data mart here and onto the Essbase or Oracle, our old database system. So the next challenge with that was that Oracle was being kind of taken away. So I really had to kind of get to know what all the data was that was coming out of these applications and how it would fit into the next iteration of our process. So now that I knew a little bit more about the applications and the type of data, I had been given sort of a calendar of when sort of a lot of the more important parts of month end were to occur. So I had all the dates, and sort of this is a rough outline of the way things come together. From that, I was able to put it all into sort of a very large day-by-day, step-by-step process document that can guide anybody through the entire process. Each one of these steps that is here is just it's a challenge. Every one of them is sort of something different that I've kind of learned along the way. But ultimately, I'm quite proud of the way that this turned out, because now I have something that puts the whole process together, aligns all of the systems that are at play here, and results in something that it shows how they all integrate and connect together to get the data where it needs to be each month. And this process doc I've made, you can kind of go start to finish. I've determined what the critical path is, and each one of these steps can be performed in sequence. I've made a lot of notes on here for when they don't need to be done in sequence. But for the most part, it is all it's pretty straightforward now, considering that it used to be the most complicated process in the whole company. So I'm quite proud of the work I put into this. So this brings all of the systems together. Management of these e-business applications is something I learned through the SAIT course, which was probably leadership got me through creating this, as well as the management information systems course that I took through SAIT. It was very helpful for me to understand how all these systems communicate with each other and how databases work. Although I was an accountant, it is now paying off that I took that course. I do recall taking that course and going, I don't know if I needed that. Thanks, but no thanks. But absolutely, it's been a couple years since I took it, and I'm so glad I did, because I actually have been consulting my old textbook and notes about it. And yeah, thank you for letting me take that course.